What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update, going into the last 24 hours or 48 hours of Tottenham news. And we're going to start off talking about Manuel Solomon. And Sport 5 Israel say that Leeds are interested in signing Manuel Solomon after Tottenham Hotspur decided to loan him out this season. Solomon enjoyed an injury-hit first season at Spurs, having played just 198 minutes of football. And as of late, there's just been some other news. Shayla Gassi says that Spurs have received an offer from Getafe for Manuel Solomon. Leeds also showed interest, as revealed by Sport 5. There is also interest from 2 Premier League clubs and clubs from Italy and Germany. The player's priority right now is to stay in England. Solomon is expected to leave on loan by the end of the transfer window. And Paul O'Keefe says that Manuel Solomon has an offer from Getafe along with interest from Leeds and other English clubs. There is also other interest abroad. The player would prefer to stay in England, so exactly the same as what the other report said.
Who reported it first? Who's copying who there?
Paul O'Keefe was second, I believe.
Ooh, Paul O'Keefe copying Shayla Gassi.
Well, it's actually, yeah, he was second.
Interesting. Look, we all know Manuel Solomon needs to leave. There's no place for him right now in the team with obviously Odebear signing. Werner's signed on the left as well. I don't see any place for Manuel Solomon. In terms of where he should go, I actually don't think Leeds is a bad option, albeit it will be disappointing for him to drop down to the Championship, given, he showed he can definitely play in the Premier League. Given that apparently he's struggling, to get over to return to full fitness in terms of that big injury he had. He needs to return to that sharp, Manuel Solomon we saw when we first signed. I think spending some time, even if it is in the Championship, in attacking side, replacing someone like Somerville, who they got the best out of last season in terms of getting in him positions to get goals and assists. If he can do that, get his confidence back, even if it is in the Championship, I don't think that's a bad way to go, albeit obviously, if he's going to play in the Premier League week in, week out, that's probably a better choice. But I think Leeds could be a good loan option for him. In terms of Getafe and La Liga, it'll be good for him just to get back up to speed. I don't know if it's the best loan for him. I think staying in England is probably better. But I don't think Leeds is actually a bad option.
Yeah, I don't really have too much problem with either, to be honest. I feel like he needs just to be playing regularly and get back into the swing of things. And because, the report that you heard from Paul O'Keefe about why Manuel's not getting game time is because he's just not sharp. He's not showing that same kind of tenacity that he had when he first joined, like you say. So he just needs to get that sharpness back. And I think any sort of first team football, whether it be for Leeds in the Championship, where they'll be, setting sights on promotion this year, whether it be in La Liga, playing against some top sides in that league, I think any kind of first team football on a regular basis is good for Manuel, so I don't really have a problem with either of those, to be fair.
I think sometimes when you got that big injury, it's a lot of it is psychological and getting back to your best. And I feel like if he goes to Leeds and just shows he's way too good for the Championship and just like getting loads of goal contributions, that would really help get his confidence back to where it should be.
Yeah. Next up, Darmstadt from Sky Sports says there's been no approach for Tottenham for João Gomez. Paul O'Keefe says a number 6 is not happening at Spurs. Spurs don't believe they can get one in this window. And where is it? This is from Jack Pickbrook. Says Gray and Bergvall have impressed so much in training and the pre-season friendlies that adding an all-action midfielder or a number 6 in the window is no longer a priority.
It's obviously, given how certain we were that we wanted another midfielder, this whole window we've been going for the likes of Ramsey, going for Gallagher. We've been, even up until a week ago, we've been linked with signing another midfielder. It's a bit surprising that now that we're saying that we've been so impressed that we don't want one, as regards to why didn't we say that a few weeks ago.
I find it very coincidental that Conor Gallagher has literally accepted Atletico and been unveiled with Atletico this week, and now this news is coming out.
But you can't deny they haven't been impressive. You know what I mean? Gray and Bergvall. For Spurs fans, I think we can all accept that they've probably impressed more than we expected. I would say, definitely, since they've come into the team. Expect 2 teenagers of their age. I didn't personally expect them to make such an impact in pre-season. I thought they would maybe show what they're about, but the fact they've been starting games, they've been not only starting games, but excelling.
I did consistently tell you Lucas Bergvall is going to have a Dele Alli pre-season.
He was brilliant, it's obviously he's been very impressive. I don't think anyone really expected them to have such an impact, in my opinion, to really show that they're at home at this level straight away, and they have shown that. So I can understand what they're saying. Maybe if we sign a midfielder, does it block their minutes? And they've shown that they could definitely be part of the team. So I don't think it's completely untrue what Jack Pippa is saying in terms of they've been pressing. But if we really want to challenge, the likes of City and Arsenal and Liverpool this season, the problem is, are we going to have to wait a year for them to really, get maybe even 2 years to get to that kind of level where they can be a part of a team that's challenging? That's the question I would say. But I'm happy to trust in them because they've been very impressive.
Yeah. It is a bit annoying when you think about it. Like the last 2 weeks, we're all talking about the midfielders that can come into Spurs. Every kind of reliable journalist says that Spurs are looking for an all-action midfielder. The Athletic was saying it, Romano was saying it, Paul O'Keefe was saying it, and Bergvall and Gray had been there for weeks. Then the pre-season was done. We all knew how much of an impact they've had, and I kept saying quite consistently, with the midfielders that we have on our roster, I don't see where a space is for a midfielder, and now the truth is coming out. And I never saw how realistic it was to bring in a midfielder. As much as I would want one, and I want a really top six to come in through the door. You've got Bissouma there, you've got Bentancur there, you've got players in the 8. I just didn't see how a midfielder can fit into this team.
Yeah, I guess maybe if we see Bergvall as an 8 now, maybe it's Maddison and Decky as 10s. Sarr and Bergvall as 8s, and Bentancur and Bissouma and Gray as well, filling in as the 6s, and maybe that's how we see it.
I think that is how we see it. I think that's exactly how we see it, and I feel like what's good about that as well is that a lot of them can play in the other positions as well. Like Bergvall played in all 3 throughout pre-season. Kulusevski can play in the 8 and the 10. You're looking at Bentancur can play in the 8 and the 6. You're looking at Bissouma could potentially play in the 6 and the 8 as well.
And Gray
as well can play literally everywhere around the pitch. So I feel it's good midfielders to go into the season with, but I don't know if it takes us up to the next level this season.
Well, the thing is, if everyone plays to their potential, you could definitely say that's a very good midfield set. The problem is Bissouma's been underperforming. Bentancur took a while to get back up to speed. Maddison, lost his form after getting an injury. So that's the worry. But if you look back to last year, at the beginning of last season, how Sarr, and also obviously Sarr's a bit out of form as well right now. But if you look back to the beginning of last season, and you look back to how good Bentancur is at his best, same with Maddison, same with Bissouma, same with Sarr, when they're all at their best, and they can be a match for anyone, they really can. But it's about getting them to that level. So it is a worry because they're out of form, but it's not. I don't think it's a worry in terms of how good they actually are, because I think they're brilliant. But it's just a worry because we haven't seen them all together in their best form for quite a while.
The problem I have with it is that there are worrying traits with what I would say is our best number 6 and our best number 10 in James Maddison and Yves Bissouma. Yves Bissouma, we all know what the worrying traits are. It's mentality, it's attitude, maybe not attitude, because I think whenever he comes on the pitch he does have a good attitude, but he can't seem to keep a consistent performance level ever since joining Tottenham Hotspur. We all know the ability that he does have, and stuff going on off the pitch with the balloons and going live at 2 a.m. before a game. It's just worrying traits that you don't want to see from a top midfielder that you're going to have at this football club. James Maddison as well, worrying traits where you see him perform well at the start of the season, have an injury and go off the ball, and we haven't seen him get back to his best till this first game against Leicester, and it's not the first time that we've seen it. We spoke to Locks, a Leicester City fan, who said this happens consistently for Leicester. So when you're looking at these 2 players particularly, where they're supposed to be senior and the most strongest midfielders that we have, that's my big concerns going into this season. And
they are valid concerns, but there are players, we know how good they can be when they're at their best, and we have to trust that we can manage to get them to their best consistently. And if we can, then we're not going to have as much an issue as people are thinking, in my opinion. But it's all about whether we can do that. That's going to be the big question. And we're going into the season trusting that we can do that. Some people will say it's destined to fail because look at the past. But we know, sometimes you just get sometimes players like Maddison, you just get a season when they stay injury free and they just have a mad season. That can happen. So let's just hope we can manage his injuries and we can get him to his best for the whole season. Same with Bissouma and Bentancur. Let's hope we can get them back up to speed and back to their best, because we know what we have there. And yes, I think in a perfect world, do we want to sign another one, not just so we have that quality, but also push those players even further? Maybe. You can probably argue we could a bit more quality, but I honestly think when we have the midfielders in our team at their best, they're very, very, very good players. So let's just trust that we can do that.
Let's talk about the Spurs Academy now. First of all, the under-21s played Bristol in the EFL Cup, which was supposed to be a Bristol first team. There were it was like a mission match Bristol team. Mikey Moore and Will Lancashire both played in the game, both scored goals as well. It finished 3-3 on the day, Spurs winning on penalties. However, the news is that Jude Southampton is set to leave Tottenham and join Spanish side Cordoba permanently. He has gone on a free, but Spurs do retain a 40% sell-on fee.
Classic. I doubt they'll get a big fee in the future because if you're signing a player from what are they, Spanish second division?
Something like that, yeah.
So I'm assuming if he does well, even if he does really well in Spanish second division, I mean, probably not going to get more than like 5 million for him, probably, to get him out of Cordoba. So look, it's a shame because he looked like he was going to be a real prospect for us. He was doing really well last season up until I think he had some injuries. So, he was being talked about in the same breath as some of our other youngsters in terms of how impressive he was. So it's a shame it's ended, him going to a team like Cordoba. I wish him the best of luck. But in terms of Lancashire and Mikey Moore, brilliant goals they scored on the day. I think you have to say that Will Lancashire goal was a bit Harry Kane-esque, the way he'd moved the defender and popped into the top corner was a brilliant goal. Then Mikey Moore, all the confidence to take it round the back of the defender and slot it through the keeper's legs from a tight angle as well. Brilliant goal from both of them. And the fact that they both got on the score sheet, while going back to under 21 level when they're going to be part of the first team next season, just keeps their confidence up, keeps them in check for the first team as well. So really, really good, and I'm delighted for them.
Yeah. Next up, let's talk about Giovanni Lo Celso, as Dario Ole says that Giovanni Lo Celso is Al Qadis's alternative target if Paulo Dybala decides to reject their advances. Aston Villa and Fenerbahce are also interested.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to leave. Again, another player who, a bit like Solomon, there's not a place for him right now. So we all know that he's surplus to requirements for Tottenham, albeit he's a good player. And I do think he works under Ange, but unfortunately we just can't keep him fit. And we've got other now, Bergval's now there, Decky's now number 10. So I just don't see where Lo Celso fits. And we just need to get some money for him. If he goes to Saudi, I mean, that's good. If he's willing to go there, we can get some money. That's good for everyone. But I do question whether he wants to go there. I reckon he still wants to stay in Europe.
Yeah, I agree. And from an excerpt from Men in Blazers interview with Pep Guardiola, and we all know the quality of Pep Guardiola, and we all know when he talks you have to listen. And he was asked, who do you think is going to be in the title race this year? And he says Tottenham will be there because of the way they play.
Who am I to argue with Pep Guardiola? Who am I? To be fair, there is a trait with Pep where he likes to glaze the opponents. Like not necessarily he's being disingenuous, but whenever always in his pre-match press conferences, whoever he's playing, he always say, "Oh, what an amazing team they are! They're brilliant, this and that." So I sometimes you got to take his compliments with a pinch sort of bit, but. He didn't have to bring up our name. He was asked who's going to challenge for the title. So he's clearly been impressed with what he's seeing from Spurs. Look, I know we drew against Leicester and it's frustrating for everyone, but I did see some really good things there in terms of how we're going to be approaching games this season and improvements we've already made from last season in terms of up front. And so I know that the result was disappointing, but I really think there was some really good stuff against Leicester. So let's hope we can take the good and work on the negative.
In my opinion, the reality of that Leicester game, our 90-minute game of football, we played crap for about 15 minutes. I felt like we were really good for the rest of the time, for 75 minutes of the game. And on another day, Dom Solanke puts those chances away with a bit more match sharpness, and we probably win the game 3 or 4, 5-1. That's the reality. It's just a real big shame that we did end up drawing the game, because I did think for large parts we were actually really good. So we'll see what happens. I'm not talking about Spurs in the title race.
Look,
but
Pep knows his football. Pep is, though. He's willing to get egg in his face, so aren't we?
I'll leave that for Pep. Last but not least, ahead of the game on Saturday against Everton, Ben Davies will be presented with a special commemorative gift on behalf of the club of recognition of 10 years of service at Tottenham Hotspur. Wow. Is this a sign of the end? Do you reckon before the end of the window maybe there'll be a surprise exit for Ben Davies, or is this just a nice gesture from Tottenham?
It's 10 years at Spurs as well. I think whatever happens, they're always going to do that. So I doubt it's a sign of the end.
But usually they do that when the player leaves. I don't think they did that for any of the other players like Hugo Lloris or Harry Kane.
I don't remember.
I don't think they did that for any of them.
Hugo Lloris or Harry Kane. Kane was from the academy, so when he was here for 10 years, like, it was different. He wasn't a signing from a young age. He was there from the academy, so he might have been 10 years quite early in his career. It would be a bit weird to do that for Kane. In terms of Lloris, was he even in the squad when he came up to 10 years? Or I can't remember. He might have been injured, or I can't remember what the. No, he did do something, didn't we, for him?
We did something after he left, I believe.
No, because I remember we did something there was one game we did something for him. I can't remember when that was exactly. I don't think this is out of the ordinary, to be honest. He's been here 10 years. He's been a good servant. I don't know if it's a sign of the end, but I wouldn't be surprised if we find a solution to let him go, just because if we want to bring in another signing, he's going to have to be the fall guy, to be honest. So maybe there's something in the works, but I don't think this specific thing is a sign of it. But I think obviously it's great to commemorate his 10 years of the club. It's mad that he signed in 2014. Even when he signed then, I never thought he'd be here 10 years later. He seemed like
his first signing.
He was, and he's been a really good servant to the club. He's always been a player who gives 100%, and he's always never given Tottenham a moment's problems. Always been a really good player to fill in whenever players are injured. Plays wherever you asked him to a good standard as well. So it's a good gesture from Tottenham. I guess we'll see whether this is a sign of him leaving or not, but I don't know. I wouldn't say it is. Apparently, who said it? Apparently, was it Paul O'Keefe which he said Ange really values him and really thinks he's a really important member of the squad. So I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be leaving yet.
There's actually one I wanted to talk to you about. This one, and this will be the last one, is from Paul O'Keefe saying Spurs are looking to add a goalkeeper this window, Tommaso Martinelli, who previously has caught their eye. And with Brandon Austin just signing a 5-year deal, Fraser Forster still there, Alfie Whiteman there, obviously. I find this one really peculiar.
Unless, I don't know what's going on with Forster, because he's injured, isn't he?
Yeah.
At the moment. Is he going to be left out of the squads? Obviously, if he's going to be... if we're going to add a keeper, then I don't know where he fits in terms of we have to leave out Ben Davies, essentially, I think, if we're going to fit him in. That's already leaving out Forster as well on top of that. Obviously, Brandon Austin has signed a 5-year deal, but I got a feeling that's more for homegrown than us believing he's actually good enough to be number 2.
Regardless, we need him in the squad.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying I don't know if we believe he's actually good enough to be our number 2 just yet. Like maybe he's our number 3 and we want a number 2, and if we're leaving out Forster, we need a different number 2. It's a bit weird that we're looking at a goalkeeper given the other holes we do have in the squad, and we have 3 goalkeepers already right now in the squad. To me, it doesn't seem like a massive priority, albeit I do think we could do with a better number 2 than we already have right now. So from that point of view, it does make sense. But if we sign a keeper, then that means probably Ben Davies being left out, and I don't know if I would rather a sub-keeper. I'd rather keep Ben Davies in the team. I think he offers more than a sub-keeper right now.
I'll be really frustrated if from now into the window, because I think we're only going to bring in 1 from now. If we are going to bring any, it will be just 1. And if it is a goalkeeper, I feel like that's such a waste. I really do. I feel like, well, it looks like the midfielder is not going to happen now. So if you are going to bring in 1, it has to be a hybrid of a left back and a left centre back.
Yeah,
I think that's the one that has to be.
That's what.
And if you're going to leave out Ben Davies, that's the one that makes sense to be.
Agreed.
So to bring in a goalkeeper makes no sense to me at this moment in time, and I was really surprised and shocked when Paul O'Keefe tweeted that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't know where he fits in the team, and unless we're making extra room. But why make extra room for a keeper when we have 3 keepers right now? Unless you really don't trust them. So that's a bit peculiar to me.
Anyway, that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.